I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hi everyone. So today I am going to talk to you about how I made my very first coaching sale and what was going on at that time and how I went about it, because there's some things that I did that were really smart and some things that were pretty dumb. And I am just going to tell you the whole story as if you are my best friend and we're having a sleepover and I'm telling you all the real deal details. So flashback to 2017, we moved to Bend. And I was working on a grant-funded program at Oregon State University. And it was during 2017 that, I started wondering if higher ed was going to be it for me, long-term or not. Because I was working, in a university system. That was my master's degree. It was all about running colleges, literally my Master's of Ed focus is in College Student Services Administration, which is why running coaching and education administration of a business comes so naturally for me. I have a lot of education in that area, but I thought it was going to be applied to the world of higher ed. I thought I was going to end up being a vice president or a dean of a school or something like that. And then 2018 came around and it was winter of 2017, I think, we found out, or maybe even winter of 2018. It was right at the beginning of the year. I'm pretty sure we started hearing that they probably weren't going to renew our grant. And there was all sorts of political things going on that influenced that. But I started realizing I didn't want to go back to working in an office on a college campus that, probably didn't have windows, would require me to work back to back appointments all day long. As an advisor, you are trying to see a crap ton of students, and your system that you work in is designed for them to get as much value out of you as they can, whether it's good for you or not. Realistically, it's as much of a business and a corporation to work in higher ed as it is to just go work for a corporation, but you're getting paid way worse because they can get away with it. That's a whole other story I'll dive into sometime. But I was having this realization that okay, for me to do the work I like to do, which is hands-on with people that are trying to grow, trying to reach new goals, I could not grow my salary in higher ed without actually getting way less time doing what I love, which is the client work, one-on-one or one to a small group kind of engagement. And that bummed me out. I also at that point had worked from home for a while. And so all of that had me thinking what if I ran my own business? So I got to help people. And at that time, I was thinking about career coaching. My background up until then lent itself really nicely for me to know a lot about how to decide your career path, how to make good decisions for yourself for your career, and how to advocate for yourself during the job search. And so for me, it was really easy to see that I do probably career coaching, life coaching. And so I started thinking about it, and everyone, right? I was getting served ads because that's what I was talking about. And that's the sites I was engaging with, was learning how to become your own business owner. And then I started learning about the world of coaching and the online coaching industry and realized holy crap, this is a thing. And I could be an online coach. Why not me? And so I signed up for a webinar And it was all about how to grow your own coaching business. I think it might have even been like detailing how that coach had grown like $1 million coaching business. And so I watched the webinar and started learning about this coach. Like, I remember I Googled like how to write a coaching business plan, or like what a coaching business plan looked like. And I ended up like seeing her again. And so I ended up watching her webinar, thought it was really cool, talked to somebody the next day or something like that about her coaching program. And that like 2-hour sales call resulted in me investing more than my car was worth at the time in her marketing and sales coaching program. And then I was committed to making it happen because I was all in. Like, literally more than our life savings was worth at the time, more than my car was worth, like a crap ton of money. Like, looking back, it was like 25% of my income. Maybe a little less. It was like 20% of my income at the time that I invested in this one program. I was like hardcore ready to go in and like make it happen. So this was the beginning of 2018. So I did her program, and that was super helpful. Like, really, honestly, pros and cons for sure. Like, learned a lot about what I do like, what I don't like in terms of like the way she was running her coaching business. Learned a lot about marketing and sales and advertisement and like the industry of coaching and online business. And that was really good. But also, I was one of like 100 people in that program, which I don't think I experienced coaching in that program. I think it was much more a course, but it was sold to me as if it was coaching. And so like that kind of sucked. And I just had very little support. Like, actual time that I spent talking to someone one-on-one in total was probably an hour over the like 4 months of that program. Max. Literally max 1 hour. Like, probably not even. It was, yeah, very little short check-ins. And so it's just a very different approach. But I learned a lot from her and her team of coaches because, I mean, her alone, I talked to for like 5 minutes in that whole time. But I learned a crap ton. And so that was good for me because I committed. I remember I was so scared. Like, I invested all that money on a credit card, like on a 0% credit card. And I was like, well, I have a year to pay this back. Either I'm going to figure this out and make money coaching, or I'm going to go get a job at like Target and work every hour I possibly can on top of my full-time job that was scheduled to end at the end of the year, or I guess in 2019. And I was committed. So thankfully, though, I did that and I did commit, because I think that's something that holds so many people back from their dream of running a coaching business, is they don't ever fully commit. And so then they spend a crap ton of time and usually a lot of money because they just keep trying to learn more and more and put off like the inevitable, which is selling and marketing and figuring out how to make your first coaching sale, and then doing it again and again and again and again and again until you make your investment back. And then, right, you're in the black and you can actually start earning money from your business, which can happen so fast. And that's what was really cool that I experienced in my first year running my coaching business, is like I made back my investment really fast, even though I had invested a crap ton of money. And I mean, that was just the coaching program that I first invested in, because then I went on to pay for a bunch of software that I didn't end up needing. And that was really frustrating. And so I cycled through like a ton of different softwares that I paid for and ended up not using like any of them. Literally none of them are part of my business anymore. And most of them weren't even a part of my business for longer than like a month. And I paid for a lot of money in ads, which back then, Facebook ads were so good. Like, you could get a lead to watch your webinar for like less than $8 per lead. Now that I have not been able to get that number back under like $20 a lead. But yeah, if you guys want to know about my history with like the nearly $100,000 I've invested on Facebook ads, let me know, and I can record another episode about that. But so how I went about making my first sale was through Facebook ads, because that is what this coach taught the method of. And it's still, like, it can work. It's just expensive. But at the time, what I was doing is I developed my first program that was a self-love based career development program. So it was all about helping women like me that were going through a similar question of, I invested so much of my time and energy and education into this vision that I had for my life. I thought I was going to be in this career path. Something happened where you realize this isn't it for me anymore. And then you needed to figure out, well, what is? And I had the professional experience, the education, and the passion for this conversation to build a brand around that, which I actually named that program Sustain Your Passion, which is why my business is now called Sustain Your Passion, and this podcast is Sustain Your Passion. Like, it all started there. But so I developed this program, and for me, it was really easy to develop the program because I had done that a lot already. I had developed multiple college courses at that point. I had developed like all of the support system around the grant that I was working in, and like how we would actually interact with our students. I had developed conference sessions and like programs, summer camp programs, and marketing ads and things like that for different jobs that I had had over time, and like lots of event planning and stuff like that. And I had sold in every job I ever had. I view sales like in a lot of other jobs than most people do, even though I also had direct sales roles. So like a lot of it came naturally to me. But all that to say, like, I was really, really confident in my ability to be a damn good career coach. Like, even to this day, like, I don't take career coaching clients, but I know that if I did, I would be able to help that client so darn well. Like, I know it, you know? And that is something that no business coach could give me. That was because I was confident in my abilities and my expertise. And that was so valuable. And I think that that is something that, like, looking back, I was so privileged to have that. And that came from my many mentors before I ever started my business, like, teaching me, and my education and my faculty members and like all the professors I studied under, all the books I read. Like, I was so lucky to be that confident in my specialty because of all of those experiences. And that was like a huge leg up for me in that first year and like towards making my first sale. But so I had this business coach. I learned a lot about marketing and sales. I had a ton of confidence in my ability to help my clients. And I knew how to develop a damn good program that I was really proud of and really confident in. So in terms of marketing and selling it, like, that part came pretty easy for me. The part that was hardest for me was just finding leads, which I think is true for like every business. Lead generation is hard, and like advertisement is difficult. And so that first year though, Facebook ads, like I mentioned, like, were a lot cheaper. It was a lot easier to get in and run a conversion ad, which means like someone that's going to give you their email address or like sign up for something that you are advertising. And so I had a webinar funnel built out, and John helped me with some of the technical pieces of like getting my Facebook pixel added to my webinar landing page and making sure that like people could go through the flow with all of the automations I needed. But like, I was writing the like content for the webinar. I wrote the ads. I had a copywriter that was helping me like review it before I launched my ads, which was really cool as part of that business coaching program. That was really valuable. And so then once I launched it, I had a pretty terrifying few weeks. Like, I remember being so scared, like knowing that I had all this money on a 0% credit card and knowing that like one way or the other, I was going to pay that back. And then it started working and people were signing up for it. And it was so cool to see people want to come to my webinar and want to learn from me. And like, that was so exciting, getting to help them with their careers and teaching them that, like, their interests matter in their career decisions, because so often, like, people are just, they don't get that message. And that mattered so much to me to, like, get to share that with people. And I loved it. It was so much freaking fun. And so I had this webinar funnel, and basically what I teach now my clients, any of my clients that are listening, you probably know what I'm about to say. I teach a 3-step funnel, which is strangers, engagers, buyers. And so back then, my strangers were encountering a Facebook ad, my engagers were watching a webinar, and then my buyers were getting on a free call with me, and that's where the sale occurred. So I either invited them to work with me or not, and if they wanted to work with me, they bought on the call or not. And so that funnel converted really well. And within, it was probably within the first month, if not quicker, of launching the final ad, because I did a bunch of tests of different ads and different pieces of the ad to, like, make it where it was a really good ad that performed really well, and then, like, turned up the ad cost, so, like, per day it was spending more money. And once it was in, like, production, which is when it had the full dollar amount behind it, like, I was getting multiple leads every day watching my webinar and booking calls, like, every week. And so then I started taking these calls, and I want to say it might have been my very first call. I don't know. I should look back and find out how many calls did I take, if I still have that data, before I made my first sale. But to make my first coaching sale, that's what my funnel looked like. And, like, that's what my investment looked like it was from February, like, 8th, I think, or 6th or something, is when I joined that first coaching program. And then I made my first sale at the beginning of July. So what is that? Like, February to March, April, May, June, July. 5 months later, I closed my first $3,000 career coaching sale. And I was so excited. My client is still a client to this day, and she's lovely. She is, like, BFF level perfection of ideal client. She is exactly who I want to work with and who all of my work is tailored for, like someone just like her. And so it was so freaking cool to see that my message and my approach worked to connect with the right people. And then that client went on to secure a $32,000 increase in salary and changed jobs. Like, she moved across the country. Like, she leveled up in her career. She was just, like, the perfect ideal client, literally. Like, everything was tailored for her. And so she had so much great success in the program that I was offering, Sustain Your Passion, because it was so perfectly designed for her. And I got even more confidence then because of it, because I was so courageous to, like, put it out there. And I really believed in myself. And at that point, I had been helping, like, hundreds of college students with very similar questions about, like, who am I? What do I want to be? How do I get there? Like, how do I pick the right career for me? How do I make these decisions? And so it was just such a great combination of, like, pure confidence, like, utter just fucking lots of courage to go out there, and like, confidence in my skills that I transferred out of my career in higher ed, which I think is something that a lot of coaches that are coming into their coaching business, like brand new coaches, if they've never been in a helping profession before, I find that they're a bit more nervous about their ability to coach than someone that has been in a helping profession before. So, like, a teacher, an advisor, someone who offered coaching in their previous job. So, like, that also gave me this, like, unfair advantage. But I leveraged it, you know? And I think that everyone has unique skills that they can leverage into their coaching business too. You just have to know what yours are and then capitalize on it, which I did, you know? And so from there, making my first sale, I remember John and I were so excited. It was a pay in full $3,000 sale, and we went to the beach. And I still have pictures from that trip. We took Molly and we went out to the Oregon coast and we stayed in the most expensive hotel we had ever stayed in at that point together, other than our honeymoon that was paid for by his grandparents. So like the first hotel room that like we spent a crap ton of money on, it was right on the water, and it was like, oh my gosh, it worked. And from there, it was just like wash and rinse and repeat, like keep doing it. And so then it really was just turn up the ad, take calls, close sales, serve clients. It was incredible. And I was hooked. I knew like, okay, if I can do this at least once, if I can do this to pay off like all the money I invested in ads and coaching and everything at that point, like before I made my first sale, if I could pay all of that off in the first like 3 months of actually making sales, why couldn't I go on and make this a full-time business? Why couldn't I replace my income? And why couldn't I replace John's income and grow our business to a place where I'm helping more and more and more people in a way that feels right to me and that feels good to me and aligns with what I value as a coach and what I know I can help people with. And it grew from there. And now I serve as a business coach because it's a very similar question of who am I? Where do I want to go? And how do I get there? And now I get to help people take their passion and their expertise and their skills and build a business. And I actually teach my clients how to do it without Facebook ads. Like there are some that run ads and I can help them with that too. But at the same time, it's like there is so much opportunity in just organic growth that's how I make my sales now. Like I'm toying with starting another Facebook ad this summer maybe, but it's been a while since I've gotten a client from an ad. So yeah, even though my story includes that, like, to make my first sale, I ran Facebook ads, I have made probably, I would say, like 80% of my income as a coach over the last 5 years from organic marketing and 20% from ads. Maybe. I'd have to, like, look back at the books, but that's what my gut is saying. Like, more came from organic than came from ads. But that was how I got started, was with Facebook ads. And then when Facebook got in trouble a few years ago with the government and they changed the way that they like targeted their ads, they got super expensive. And so from there, it's been a lot harder to use Facebook ads. But like I said, like it's still possible. It's just a bit more expensive. And it's still the same funnel that I run now, though. Like it's somebody learns about me, they are invited to my webinar to watch it, and then from there, they're given a free call, and if after the free call, they want to know more about working with me, I invite them to work with me. And so the only thing that would be different about that same funnel that I run now is how people encounter, like, become aware of my webinar. And just with organic reach, I've been able to sustain my income for a long time. And so yeah, I just hope that this is helpful to any new coach that's thinking, like, how am I going to make my first sale? What is it like? And if you have any follow-up questions about my journey and my story, I would love to share it. I really like getting to talk about like what I've been through and what I've learned. I find it to be really valuable to not only reflect on those lessons learned, like personally, but also I always hear from people after I share stories on podcasts, and like my podcast episodes, that our stories seem to do pretty well. So if you liked hearing about this, and if anything kind of perked up your ears and you're like, wait, I want to know more about that, please find me on social media and let me know. I'm happy to tell you more and give you all the details. I will go back and look if, figuring out a certain number is what you want to know more about. Like, I am an open book. I know that starting a business, especially as a woman of color, especially as someone who is not like in the world of business, doesn't have a business degree, like didn't plan on being an entrepreneur, like it's scary. That first year, like I was so nervous. I did not tell people what I was doing. Like I was just, yeah, I felt pretty alone in like that journey, other than the coaching program I was in and the community that I had of like a couple friends I made in that coaching program. And so if you're new in your business and you're like experiencing the fears or doubts that you heard me talk about today of like, holy crap, what am I doing investing? Or like, is this right? Just know that you're not alone, and it is scary to start a business, and it is one of the only ways that I've found to actually get to live a free life. Like, I get to make my schedule. I get to decide how much I'm advertising, how much business I'm taking on, how many clients I have, how much space I have between my appointments. Like I was telling you at the beginning, like my advisor schedule was literally 6 hours a day of half-an-hour appointments packed in. So I was seeing 12 students a day minimum, because that was like if I didn't give up some of my prep or my wrap-up time, which I often did because there just wasn't enough time to see all of our students. And it was like you had to hold your bathroom breaks, so your lunch break, if you got a full lunch break, because you also had a bunch of administrative tasks to do on top of your back-to-back appointments. But like, that's just not true anymore. As a business owner, like, I give myself breaks between calls. And other than the odd scheduling conflict, like, I love my schedule that I get to set, and I get to work with dreamy clients that I genuinely love to spend time with. And that's all because way back then, I decided to figure it out. And I decided to say yes to working with a business coach. And I, along the way, have decided that I do not lose. Losing is stopping trying. And as long as I am continuing to try to learn to be a better business owner, I'm still winning my business. Like, it is still going and it is still successful because I'm in the game. And the only thing that to me would be like failing as a business owner would be stopping, like not trying. And so even in the moments that were hard and scary and confusing, and that I can look back and be like, why did I try so many softwares? Like, why did I invest in so many different softwares? That I remember like lead pages and stuff like that, that like I didn't even know what it was when I was signing up for it, but I thought I needed it. Like, I made a lot of silly decisions and like running Facebook ads with like the wrong settings turned on, and then realizing it after a week because I didn't look it over really close or whatever. Like, those mistakes taught me so much, and they never made me stop. Like, there was never any lesson that hurt too bad that I decided that meant I had to like close my business and stop having a business. Even when I went months on end without trying to get new clients because I was overwhelmed with like health stuff or my full-time job or whatever, like, and then when I decided to, like, when my grant ended and I went full-time in my business, and then I got headhunted for a job, and then I started working again, like, even through all those ups and downs, like, the fact that I stayed committed is what has brought me to the point that this is my full-time job. Like, I get to make my family's full income as a coach doing what I love every day. And that is all because I just didn't give up. And so if you know that you can help people with your skills and your passion and your expertise and your education, and you want to help people with your coaching, like, that is all it takes to keep going. And take every mistake or every lesson and apply it to help you grow, and just don't give up, and you will grow your business. Because the people that you're looking up to right now, as like even me, right? Even 5 years in, I still feel like I have so much to learn. And I look at people more experienced than I am and say, wow, I could be so much better. Like, I still have so much room to grow. And that means that I will make mistakes because I'm not there yet. Like, I will never be, air quote, like, there. I will keep learning. I will keep growing. And so if you are curious about like how or when you're going to make your first sale, it's coming as long as you are continuing to learn. Like, the fact that you're here listening to this podcast episode tells me you care about learning and growing, and you are taking advice and you're learning along the way, and hopefully you apply the lessons you're learning and you're not giving up. That tells me that you are trying, and that means that your business is getting better day by day because you are trying to grow and be a better you and be a better business owner and be a better coach and make your first sale or make your 10th sale or wherever you're at. And that is what it takes. Like, tenacity is the best. I would 100% say tenacity is the most important personality trait or like skill. It's probably a skill you could develop for a business owner. So I hope this was helpful. If you're just anywhere in your business, to know that we all make mistakes along the way. It may take 5 months, it may take longer for you to make your first sale, but it's coming as long as you don't give up, and you can grow your business as big as you want to, as long as you continue to learn from everything you're going through, ask for help, and take advice, and then ultimately pick what works best for you and take it with you, and leave what doesn't work well for you and what you want your business to look like behind, and just keep going and keep growing, and don't give up, because being a business owner is pretty freaking awesome. So, all right, that's all I've got for you this week. Find me on social media if you have questions or you want to talk about anything you heard this week. And if you want to work with me to grow your own business, let me know. I would love to have you join us in Passion to Paychecks. And there's information about that over on my website at genesisrose.com/passion to paychecks. There's also lots of info about it all over my social media. So find me over there, and we'll continue this conversation next week. Thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.